we on? There we go. Good evening, Littleton. We are meeting tonight. We're beginning with executive session. Mr. DeCoste, our chair, is running late, so we're going to open the executive session. We have a quorum here. I move that the Select Board vote to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, since an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the board, and to convene an open session thereafter.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Thank you. We will be back scheduled to begin at 6:30 in open session.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Turn the volume off.
Nothing except for the executive session.
Welcome back to the Select Board meeting of September 13th, 2021, here in room 103 at Town Hall. This is a hybrid and an in-person meeting. We will be trying to do our best to get back in the swing. We just finished up an executive session. Apologize for it taking a little bit longer than we had expected. There was some good discussion. We're going to be open up with number 2 on our agenda, which is Organization Pledge of Allegiance and Reading of the Mail. We'll go into department board updates and requests. The Water Department, the Treasurer Collector, and the Library are all on that list. And then we'll go into public input and members' updates. And just, I think everybody kind of knows the rules of the game. If you are going to, during public input, just raise your hand, make sure that I recognize you, and you can come to the podium and state your name and address. And we have about a 10-minute segment of the agenda set aside for public input, and we try to limit the input to about 2 minutes. For those that are at home, they can't come to the podium, but kind of the same rules apply. Once you're recognized by Mr. Layden through the chair, we will ask that you get recognized, then come in and introduce yourself and give your address, and try to limit it to 2 minutes. We do have an appointment this evening to the Littleton Housing Authority, and then we're going to get into the special town meeting discussion and insertion of articles. We do have some licensing issues tonight for Stevie's Back Road Cafe and Common Foods or the Sub Shop. And then we'll have a discussion about the Select Board's FY22 goals. Then we get into the Town Administrator, Assistant Town Administrator update, which is approval letter of support for the 495 Metro West Partnership, of which we're members of. It's a Regional Economic Development Organization grant. We will have a COVID-19 update from the Town Administrator's office, and then we have some minutes to approve from our August 23rd meeting. And hopefully we're going to adjourn. It says 8:05, but that kind of put us behind the 8 ball on that one, so I think that one sailed, but as close to 8:05 as we can. So at this point, I ask the clerk to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Matthew. All right, at this point, we'll be looking for any mail items, Mr. Ansaldi?
There is none, Mr. Chair. I just do want to remind the board about tomorrow's lunch that's being held at the courtyard that Senator Eldridge and Representative Arciero are putting on for our seniors. So if you can attend, starts at 12 to 1, right, Joe? 12 to 1?
Yes.
Yeah. So 12 to 1.
Excellent. And next, we have department board updates. The first item on the agenda is the Water Department. And looking for a project update on some contracted services.
Yeah, Joe, you want to let Matt in and I'll start it? And
Matt's the new Corey.
Matt's the new Corey, that's right. So he's going to give an update, but what we also have is an RFP that's going out for the material, to remove this material on Forge Pond Outlet Channel. So the town of Westford's actually taking the lead on this, so they're putting out the RFP. And then what we'll do is piggyback with them and partner with them, and then just pay the bill either directly to Westford, or we'll split, the invoice will be split 50/50 between Westford and Littleton. Matt, you want to do another update with that project?
Welcome aboard, Matt.
Alright.
Any
Good.
updates?
Okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to emphasize the project. So I'm the environmental analyst at the water department, Matt Silverman. But the project is going to be through the Clean Lakes Committee. So basically what's going to be happening is there's going to be the removal of around 100 cubic yards of accumulated material from the stream bed within the outlet channel at Forge Pond. And then this material will be transported to an upland dewatering location. It will be disposed, and then the restoration of the ramps and any disturbed areas will be performed by the contractor. So this is going to be done to improve drawdowns in the winter, which will help to suppress invasive vegetation in Forge Pond.
Excellent. Any questions from any members?
Nope.
Mr. Glavy, any questions?
No.
Okay, great. We have,
Ready for a motion?
yes, please.
I move that the select board vote to authorize join the town of Westford in the issuance of a request for proposals for contracted services for the mechanical removal of accumulated material from the stream bed of the Forge Pond outlet channel.
Second.
Should that authorize you? Or the water department, or what should?
It's, you could throw it through my office, and we'll coordinate with Clean Lakes.
So just amend that to say
So
authorize town
amended to,
administrator?
yeah, to go
Through
through
the
the
town
town
administrator.
administrator.
You okay with that, Cindy?
Yeah.
All right, so the motion was made by Mr. Nordhaus, seconded by Ms. Napoli. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I assume that's how we have to do it when he's remote, or?
It's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Matthew, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Quick and painless, right?
Yep. Thanks a lot.
You bet, thank you. Is Matthew taking the PFAS stuff as well, or? Are we-
No, Nick will be here later.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so we
Treasurer
have the,
collector.
pardon me?
Sean's here, Phil.
All right, great. Treasurer collector, Sean O'Brien.
Gonna move this up a little. Good evening. Just here to seek approval for the Mass Clean Water Trust loan for the PFAS project. It's a $15 million interim note that'll help offset some of the costs with the PFAS project at Wickham Ave. Joe's got some of the approval materials from bond council, as well as the vote to approve. This project will be paid for by the ratepayers and planned to be financed over 20 years.
Any questions of Mr. O'Brien? Mr. Glavy? Okay.
Ready for a motion?
Prepared? Yes.
I move that the select board vote to adopt the form of the vote prescribed by bond council, a copy of which is attached hereto and made part hereof, relative to the approval of a $15 million loan from the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, MCWT, for funding of the water treatment facility, PFAS, authorized October 18th, 2020, special town meeting Article 10 at 0.00% interest.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded by Ms. Napoli. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, thanks.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay, next up, we have Sam Alvarez from the library.
Sam Alvarez, Library Director. So I'm here to ask for, that you accept a grant from from the Mass Board of Library Commissioners for a Library Services and Technology Act grant. I applied back in April for an Access for All grant, which would provide $14,489 to the town for the library to purchase materials and program materials and technology for the hearing and visually impaired population of Littleton.
Good deal. Any questions, comments from the board?
Nope.
Thanks for applying for the grant. Always helps. Thanks.
All right.
Motion?
I move that the Select Board vote to accept the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners grant of $14,489 under the Library Services and Technology Act program and authorize the signing of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts standard contract and associated documents.
Second.
Moved, seconded by Mr. Knox. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
See me tomorrow.
Getting excited?
Some of this is for all of us, but some of these
Yeah,
are just
good.
you.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay, next up, we have item 4, which is public input. Is there anybody that'd like to be heard in the room? Any hands raised, Mr. Leeden?
Currently, there are not any hands raised in Zoom.
Thank you. This is your opportunity. All right, member updates. Cindy, mind if I start with you?
No, not at all. I don't think I have anything, other than the 9/11 ceremony that took place this weekend. I just wanted to thank all the residents that came out to support that, and I also wanted to thank Mr. Ansaldi, Mr. Layden, and the police department and the fire department for putting together what I thought was a wonderful tribute to honor the 20th anniversary of September 11th. It was a proud moment for our town. I'm very, very thankful that we acknowledged that milestone. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say thank you to everybody that was involved in bringing that together.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't think I have anything else
That's a
to
great
share.
update. Thanks.
Yep.
Mr. Knox? Mr. Knox?
Well said. Thank you.
Mr. Knox?
Yeah, +1 on the 9/11. That was really well done. I attended the Council on Aging meeting today, and Anna Houston from the Planning Board did a presentation on housing in Littleton that was excellent and chock full of data. And she made the point that if we wanted to develop some affordable, if we wanted to create developments with a large percentage of affordable housing, we would need to engage with some nonprofit developers. And currently, there's really no board in town that's doing that actively. And so I think that the Select Board and the Affordable Housing Trust should get together and try to find a way to push for that. Because I think we do have parcels that we could develop, and there's clearly a need for that in town. And I think all it would take would be somebody who, took the reins and made it happen.
Excellent.
Obviously, subject to a lot more conversation, but it's an excellent presentation.
Excellent. Thank you for that update. Obviously, the 9/11 service on Saturday was very touching. The one person that I would say that we left out of the thank yous was Jennifer Deverwood.
Yes, thank you.
She did a lot of, kind of the behind-the-scenes work. We had a couple of folks who volunteered to come and play the bugle and do taps and echo, which was nice as well. One of them was a high school graduate, Joe Dunn, graduated a couple of years ago from Littleton High School, so that was really nice. And the athletic teams they're starting up, and they all seem to be doing quite well between cross country and soccer and field hockey and football. So support the Tigers. So from what I understand, is there give another opportunity for any hands raised?
There was someone that had their hand raised, but then they lowered it.
All right, so we're going to move on then. Great.
Well, I don't know, Mr. Chairman,
yeah, you're here. Forgot you were here.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, Paul.
I just wanted to acknowledge last Tuesday, the board held a retreat, which ended up being in the same spot where we usually do. And unfortunately, it was not broadcast, and it could have been, but it wasn't. And that's unfortunate because we actually covered a lot of important topics. I think the public would have been well served to see the discussion we had on the way we tackle both the goals we have entering a year and how we go about trying to implement them, and issues that come up during the year, and how we assign them out and how we interact with staff on that. But I thought that was a fruitful meeting for a while anyway, and I hope at some point that everything that we covered at that meeting and everything that we said at that meeting will come out again either tonight or in meetings in the next few weeks. Thanks.
She has her hand raised.
Thank you. Paul, thank you. We do have, on our agenda, we do discuss our goals again, and we can certainly go down the path of explaining to people the process and how it's not just kind of a random act where we pull stuff out of a bucket. We do give a lot of thought to any of the goals that we set forth, and we try to make sure that it's in support of the master plan and the wishes of the community as a whole. But thank you for bringing that up, and I think there is that opportunity later in the agenda. All right. You said that
Yes, it was Vera Spore. So Vera, if you are interested in talking, can you just raise your hand one more time?
All right, Paul, John, we're going to move on. Next up, we have an appointment for the Littleton Housing Authority, and this is for a tenant board member. So I believe we have Benjamin Hankins. This is the only applicant at this point, and it's an opportunity for us to kind of do a brief interview and get to know Benjamin, and where he is the only one in attendance. In all likelihood, it'll go his way. So, if Mr. Hankins can come to the podium and introduce yourself and.
Good evening. My name is Benjamin Hankins. I live out there in 19 Shattuck Street. Been there for a couple of years. Know everybody there. It's a pretty nice place. I was in business before retiring for a long time, and now I'm just enjoying retirement. But I'm glad that I was notified about the meeting and notified about the position. When I was in business, I was used to a lot of things like this. I actually kind of missed it. So that's why I wanted to kind of get back into it. So I appreciate the opportunity and hope everything works out well for me.
Excellent. Just going to open it up to the board if anybody has any questions. Mr. Knox?
I just want to thank you for your time and the appreciation this board has for the work you're going to get into.
No problem at all, sir.
Hi, I'm Matthew Nordhaus. I'm also the chair of the Housing Authority. So
Matthew.
I'll be seeing you on October 5th or 6th, I believe, at our first meeting.
Oh, okay.
And I'm looking forward to having you on the board. I appreciate your willingness to help out. And we need, we have a lot of work to do. And I look forward to working with you. Thank you for applying.
Glad to know you, and you know I like doing this type of stuff.
Good.
So
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. Ms. Napoli?
No, just want to say thank you. Thank you for volunteering your time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that, ma'am.
Vice Chair is remote. Mr. Glavy, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Hankins? I'll echo what my colleagues have said, and thank you very much for coming forward and stepping forward. The process is pretty simple. We'll take a vote, and as long as you get at least 3 of us to say you're the guy, then you're the guy.
All right.
Tag, you're it.
I like that.
And
Quite
after that,
simple and easy.
it is pretty simple and easy. I'll
All right.
entertain a motion.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 121B, to appoint Benjamin Hankins as the Littleton Housing Authority Tenant Board Member for a term of 5 years, expiring June 30th, 2026.
Second?
It's been moved, seconded by Ms. Napoli. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Sorry?
Mr. Chair, did you mention that we received the letter from Ms. Samarco withdrawing?
I didn't mention that. There were two applicants initially. Ms. Samarco did send in a request to withdraw her name from the running. So now you're stuck with us till 2026.
24. Actually,
2024?
yeah.
Oh, is it a 3-year term?
It's to finish the rest of Sonia's
Oh,
term.
right,
Her
okay.
term was up in 2024, so the motion,
Should be
You amend
amended.
that?
yeah, it should be amended.
So amended?
So amend a motion that the term will end in 2024.
You know what, I'll put it up so you can just read what I
Shall I read it
have.
again?
Yeah, 1 second.
He'll have the motion up there.
Move that the Select Board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 121B, to appoint Benjamin Hankins as the Littleton Housing Authority Tenant Board Member for the remaining term vacated by Sonia Lodge, originally a 5-year term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we don't have to rescind the previous vote?
Once again, these are avoidable errors. We really should work on making sure that doesn't happen.
All right, so the motion's been made or amended, and I just need a second to the amendment.
Yep, second to the amendment.
Ms. Napoli made the second. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You're still in.
All right. Glad of that.
Not as long.
The only thing we ask is that you do go to the town clerk, and you have to get sworn in.
Okay.
And she'll just kind of give you the rules of the road. Okay?
All
Thank
right.
you very much. Appreciate you coming forward.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, nice to
That
meet
easy.
you.
Nice to meet you.
And I appreciate you getting my name right.
As someone whose last name is mispronounced about 90% of the time.
Good enough. All right, very good. Okay. So we are on to number 6, special town meeting. Insertion of articles.
1 second,
All
Mr.
right.
Chair.
Is this something you have, Anthony, or
Yes.
driving this bus?
All right, so there's 16 articles which we'll go through right now, and these are the articles that we started with for the special town meeting on October 25th, 2021. First article is bills of prior year. Alicia, our finance director, identified a number of bills that were not paid last fiscal year, and the law requires, and bills that are not paid in the prior fiscal year need town meeting vote. So with that, we have a number of bills totaling $13,315.35 that will be going to town meeting to vote on for prior year bills. Second, Article 2 is to amend the operating budget. There was another number of adjustments that were made, mostly for salaries and hiring the people that replaced some of those vacancies. So the budget needed to be adjusted for the new dollar amounts. So that's what Article 2 is. Article 3, I know the board certainly made its it was a goal of the board's anyways, to adjust the income and asset limits of the tax abatements of seniors. And we tried to do that last year. We didn't exactly do the right one. That was an error on our part. But we discussed it with town council. We wanted to make sure that this isn't something that fell off the radar. Town council has recommended that because this needs not only a vote of town meeting, but it also needs a vote at the ballot, that we push this article off to the annual. So it'll coincide with the election. So it'll be our recommendation that we not insert Article 3. Article 4 is the debt exclusion stabilization fund. That's basically transferring some funds from free cash into the debt exclusion stabilization to reduce that dollar amount that, for prior debt exclusion that the residents pay. This is an article that we have every year. Article 5 is the appropriation bond ban excess premium. Sean, you want to just give an update quick on that one? This was Sean's article request.
Yeah, so this is a long-worded article, but essentially we're taking excess premiums from the two bans that we did in November and June, and taking that net excess premium and applying it to the capital projects. So it comes out to about $388 for each of them, and then the allocations go in line proportional to the par amounts of the band. So the bigger projects are gonna get more of the $700 compared to the smaller ones, so. So it's a lot of words, but pretty straightforward, so.
All right.
Took
Thanks.
more time than it.
Thanks, Sean.
We just shift the money, then it's gonna be more aggressive paying down the larger debt.
Yeah, it's just gonna be reapplied, so, and it's only 700, so.
All right, Article 6 is, it's reapportioning the state match and the various buckets. And then the second part of this article is a project that the CPC approved for $13,500 to fund the Cloverdale and Town Forest Boardwalk project. Article 7 is amendments to the classification and compensation plan. We just needed to make some adjustments. We added the holiday, Juneteenth. We changed some titles and positions, so we needed to reference those in the bylaw. And then we also needed to change some of the salaries for the non-Schedule A employees, the biggest one being some park and rec, seasonal staff, and on-call firefighters, et cetera. Article 8 is the amendment of the personnel bylaws. I'll turn this over to Joe, who's been working with Anita and Bill in the Personnel Committee on this article.
Thanks. So in the board's packet, there's a clean version of the personnel bylaw amendments as well as a red line version. When things were last brought in front of the board, we had indicated that town council was still reviewing it. Since that time, the personnel board also met and reviewed it and basically signed off on things. However, when we got the draft back from town council, they had a number of edits, including reorganization of the bylaw, that when you look at the track changes, the red line version, you see a lot of red and a lot of sections being changed, moved. That's sort of the opinion of town council. They're really not significant, but it makes the bylaw flow, and there's some internal consistency that they wanted to make sure was there, reflecting the change to a personnel advisory committee rather than a personnel board. Some of the changes denoted reorganization such as definitions, reorganization to bring things under a larger heading of personnel advisory committee for structure of meetings, memberships, and authority. There also were some additional sections that were deleted, which really means if something's deleted, it's not gone and forever. It gets moved over to the employee handbook. The town council changes are there in that red line version. The personnel board was provided with a copy. They did post tonight in case there was the ability to get together a quorum in order to comment on it. We do only, unfortunately, have 3 members here present. Well, Paul and Anthony. I mean, technically we do have a quorum, but there hadn't been an opportunity for a meeting in advance of today in order to provide a recommendation to the board on this, on these changes.
Mr. Chair, before we move on from Article 8, there might be further discussion. We have the public hearing at 7:30.
Okay, thank you. You're done, right?
Yes.
Any questions or comments for Personnel Board or Mr. Layden?
No,
No.
no.
A lot of work went into this, and thank you very much for all those that did have a role in this. Anita,
Mr. Chair, as the board appointee to the personnel committee, I will say, look, I appreciated and participated fully in some of the heated arguments, but I respect and I very much appreciate the input of some of our members who added to the value of the final product. And it's worth noting that, it was a unanimous board of the personnel committee that supported this final product. And, so that says something. Everybody involved, some which have been performing this task on behalf of the town without any recognition for 20 years or more, 30 years perhaps, recognize that we're in a new era now, and now that we have a full-time HR department, which as we should, these folks who contributed to everything that was done on personnel matters for the decades preceding that, we're very much a part of the process in arriving at the point we are now. So it's better that we waited from the spring to the fall to get everybody on board, and I couldn't be happier that we're at this point. Thanks.
thank you, Mr. Glavy. Thank you for your time and efforts in this as well. The chair of the Personnel Board is here, and Anita, I do want to hear from you, but I'm just we have to open these public hearings because they're posted for 7:30, so let us please do that, and then we'll definitely come back to you. Thank you. All right, so the first, is there a notice for each of them?
Just
Stevie's is a
one, just the
continuation, right?
Stevie's.
The Stevie's is a continuation. All right. Want to read that?
Yep.
Excuse me, Chuck.
Yes.
Is it possible to take a 5-minute recess? For some reason, we're frozen, so I need to reboot the machine to get it
Yes.
back up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Frozen on the two Joes.
Anytime you put two Joes on a screen, that'll happen.
Thanks,
Paul,
by the
can
way.
you still hear us?
So we're going to count this 5 minutes against you, Chuck. So if
Oh,
we're-
yeah, we
if
are.
we're done-
Napoli is.
He was late.
Oh, that's true.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, are we back?
Don't be giving him any
No,
concessions over there, Matthew.
really play hardball, Sandy.
All right, we're back, folks. Sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties, but the magnificent Oz behind the curtain, Mr. Mark Curry, has us back up and running. So we were just about to open a public hearing for a license for Stevie's Back Road Cafe and Catering located at 1 Monarch Drive here in Littleton. So, if you would.
Thank you.
Wait for the motion.
Thank you. We
We have to read the,
the public hearing, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, here we go.
we have to open the public hearing.
Open the public hearing,
The
yes.
Littleton Select Board will conduct a public hearing on Monday, September 13th, 2021 at 7:30 PM in the Littleton Town Offices, Room 103, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass., to act on requests submitted by owner Stephen Dembro for 2 licenses, an annual entertainment license under Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 183A, and a 1-day wine and malt only pouring license, Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 14, for Stevie's Back Road Cafe and Catering, located at 1 Monarch Drive, Littleton, Mass. Zoom information will be included in the agenda, which will be posted no later than 48 hours prior to the hearing. The license applications include annual entertainment license for private and charitable events, including weddings, birthdays, corporate events, community events, and general dining, etc., for the hours of 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Monday through Saturday, and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Proposed entertainment includes entertainers, clowns, puppeteers, actors, etc., live and recorded music with amplification, dancing, theater, movies, live or recorded dynamic audio or visual shows, and floor shows. 1-day wine and malt only pouring license on Saturday, September 18th, 2021, for a private party for the hours of 5:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. A copy of the application may be seen at the Select Board Town Administrator's Office, Room 306 at 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. Comments thereon may be submitted in writing to selectboard@littletonmass.org or to the Select Board Town Administrator's Office, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. 01460, by noon on September 8th, 2021, or in person at the hearing. Littleton Select Board, Charles DeCoste, Chair. Eagle
Charles.
Independent, September 3rd, 2021.
Thanks, Matthew. I get scared when you call me Charles. All right, Mr. Dembro, welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think
So,
the Nordhaus,
yeah, so the first motion that's up there is for the annual entertainment license. And then the second motion, which I'll pull up, will be for the one-day liquor license. So maybe you can just say what's, the annual entertainment license is obviously going forward, but maybe you can just talk about the event, the one-day event too.
Yes, the one-day event, we have a guitar player who's also going to use his iPad thereafter to play music. So it's going to be live for approximately about an hour, and then after that, he'll go right into using machinery for music.
Okay.
Yep.
So can I read both of these motions at one, or do we want to vote on each one?
well, so, actually, we never did open the public hearing, right?
Right.
So, just ask that we,
Oh,
motion, it's open now, so, need a motion to open it?
so I move that we open the public hearing?
Motion's moved,
Cindy?
Second.
seconded. All those in favor of opening the public hearing, signify by saying aye.
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 Apologize, I should have given my stuff out of order here. So with the public hearing, we take some input and questions and comments from the board, and then we'll open up to the public.
Mhm.
Then at some point, we'll close it, and we'll take a motion. Any questions or comments from the board?
None from me.
No, I don't have any.
Saw in the packet that there was some recommendations from the police and fire. They're both okay with it, so appreciate the input being in there. At this time, Mr. Glavy, do you have any questions or comments for the,
I'm all set, Madam, Mr. Chair, excuse me. Thank you.
okay. Is there any input from the public regarding this matter? Okay, I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
It's moved and seconded by Ms. Napoli. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion, the hearing is closed. If there does not need further deliberation, hearing none, I entertain a motion.
All right, so can I do both of these as one motion, or do you want to vote on them independently?
Vote on them independently.
Okay.
Well, because they're two different things.
Got it. Move that the Select Board vote to approve the application submitted by owner-manager Stephen Dembro for a special one-day wine and malt-only pouring license for an event September 18th, 2021, alcohol sales during the hours of 5:30 PM to 9:30 PM under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 14, for a private birthday event at Stevie's Back Road Cafe and Catering located at 1 Monarch Drive, Littleton, Mass.
Second. Motion been made, seconded by Mr. Knox. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. So that's a go.
I move that the Select Board vote to approve the application submitted by owner-manager Stephen Dembro for an annual entertainment license for private and charitable events, including weddings, birthdays, corporate events, community events, and general dining, etc., for the hours of 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Monday through Saturday, and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Entertainment includes entertainers, clowns, puppeteers, actors, etc., live and recorded music with amplification, dancing, theater, movies, live or recorded dynamic audio or visual shows, and floor shows. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 183A, to be held at Stevie's Back Road Cafe and Catering, located at 1 Monarch Drive, Littleton, Mass.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded by Ms. Napoli. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. It's unanimous. So both of them are unanimous. So you're good to go.
Okay.
Thanks,
When do I pick up the paperwork?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Color.
Tomorrow?
Sounds good. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You do the same.
You too.
Thanks.
Want to go to this last one, license for Oktoberfest?
The Oktoberfest. Anita, you okay if we just take care of the Oktoberfest? Okay. Don't want to put you on the back burner. It's kind of like Dirty Dancing. Nobody puts baby in the corner. All right, next up, we have the Park Rec Community Education Oktoberfest one-day liquor license request, and Mr. Mahalski's here to present.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Board. I do have Greg here from the Sub Shop Common Foods. They'll be applying for the one-day liquor license This will be our second annual, if you will, skip a COVID year, Oktoberfest here in Littleton. Attached in your packet, I did give you guys a map and the flyer that we had put out there. So a lot of the similar things, we will be working with the police department. The event will be fenced off again, ID checks. It will be beer and wine only. And then we'll have Andrea doing food. Andrea's Littleton Cafe will be supplying all of the food. We have some inflatables, including a giant inflatable corn maze. So another really, really great family event. Hopefully we get some nice weather again and we can get everybody outdoors and enjoy a nice day in Littleton.
Excellent.
That's awesome. And there's the possibility of getting the Vax Bus for the same day to coincide?
If you want me to give my COVID update, yes.
I'm sorry to be the spoiler alert there.
So did you?
Yeah, I mean, does anybody have any questions of Tim or for Mr. Ellis?
No, it's a great event.
It is a great event, good.
All right.
Excellent. Appreciate you all the time.
Plenty of
and effort you guys
info
put
in the
into this.
packet. I appreciate that, all that
Yep.
detail. It's great.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Well, don't take us yet, we didn't vote yet. Any further deliberation, discussion? No?
Nope.
Okay, entertain a motion.
All right, I move that the Select Board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 14, to issue a special license, also known as a one-day liquor license, to Mr. Gregory Ellers of Common Foods, Inc., for wine and malt beverages to be served during the Park, Recreation, and Community Education's PRCE October 2nd, 2021 Oktoberfest event between the hours of 12 p.m. and 5 p.m.
Second.
Ooh, I'm gonna give it to Mr. Knox. Motion's been made, seconded by Mr. Knox, sorry.
Yeah, I do too.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 It's unanimous. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so, Anita, you were just about to be recognized to speak on the personnel, pardon me?
Article 8.
Article 8, the personnel bylaw. Article 8, I'm sorry, yeah, absolutely. Please do come to the mic.
First of all, I appreciate all the work that has gone into it by our board and the fact that you gave us from April to now to be able to come up with something. We put a lot of work into this and it's looking really good. Paul was right. At our last meeting, we did vote unanimously to adopt a bylaw. Unfortunately, we didn't have any of the red line from town council, which came very late Friday. And our board has not been able to take a look at it and have any kind of a discussion. Gary and I have looked at it, and Bill, and there are a lot of wording changes and a couple of things that are being withdrawn. I don't think it's something that would stop us from doing a bylaw. However, I think that we need to have a meeting where we can have a chance to discuss it as a board and then come back to you with, oh, I'm sorry. And then come back to you with our final report. Also, when Gary and I met with Joe on Friday, we had a discussion, and he did mention, as I did, that the employees haven't seen these changes, and they vetted the other bylaw that we voted and supported, and they should have the opportunity to take a look at this again. So that's where I'm from, and I'm asking that we have at least 10 days or whatever it takes for us to put a meeting together and discuss it and come back with another final product.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may?
Sure.
So at this point, our recommendation would be just to insert the article at the next board meeting. You'll be doing your recommendations and go through the articles one last time, and that would allow us 2 weeks to go back and work through
Amendments.
these
Yes, sir.
amendments and changes, and really they were inconsequential that town council put, so we can either take them out or leave them in and discuss it, but we'll be ready for that for the next meeting, but I would recommend inserting the article at this point, because we will have it done.
Yeah, but as long as we have the opportunity for the employee, up to this point, we've
Yeah.
allowed the employees the opportunity to be heard and to, have their
Yeah.
input. So Yeah, I think that's probably the best advice, to insert it and then have the ability.
So you're inserting tonight with us to come back with a recommendation
Correct.
of changes at your next meeting? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's what we're proposing. So it has to go to a vote. I can't speak for all 5 members, but I think that's what we're gonna propose.
When is the date of the next your next meeting?
We have,
The
27th.
and we have a working session on the 20th?
Yep. So we'll be able to get something in before that 27th meeting. That's when, for the watching public, 27th is when we schedule to finalize the report, because we're going to be publishing it, final recommendations, final language within the report that would go to all households within Littleton.
That's the deadline date.
Yep.
Yeah. And we would have time to have a meeting, and then you would schedule an all-employee meeting before then as well?
Correct.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable, right, Anthony?
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound reasonable with the board members that are here?
Paul, any input?
We've done it twice already. We had no proposed changes at the last personnel boarding meeting at which this was voted. So I don't know at what point this endless circle ends, but whatever, we can keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's fine with me, but at some point, we're gonna have to vote on it.
Well, I think, Paul, what we voted on, I was ready to present tonight without a problem because it was a unanimous vote. But since we had our vote, there have been changes made that our board hasn't reviewed. That's where I'm coming from.
I haven't seen those, and I'm not aware what you're talking about, Anita. I don't doubt you, but I haven't seen it, so I apologize. Administratively, that has not been conveyed to me as a select board member on that personnel committee. But I appreciate. I know you've been directly involved in developing this language, so I don't want to end on a sour note, but I want to end on a positive note. I appreciate personally your efforts involved in making this a productive transition to the next phase of HR in the town of Littleton. Thank you.
Through the chairman, could I just ask a question?
Certainly.
Would Paul not have gotten the red line version sent to him?
It's within the board's packet.
It is.
It's in the packet.
Okay, so he would have seen it.
Perhaps, but as with a lot of the data we get, I assumed it was the last version we saw and discussed. If that's not the case, then I apologize about that, but...
I had the same assumption, Paul. And it's just because we do have so much to that's what, Mr. Wilson, if you want to come to the microphone, it's fine. And you guys did post, so I have no problem with you guys coming up.
Thank you. Gary Wilson, Vice Chair of Personnel Board. So I think what I would recommend is we get to meet as a board as soon as possible. We might not need to have the meetings with the employees if we discuss as a board and we don't think the substantive changes coming out of this, then there's no reason to hold meetings for, again, like that. But I think we need to meet within the next, as soon as possible, and then we can make a decision on that. Just because we have 2 weeks, right? So
Yeah.
perhaps we can get this to meet next week.
Yep.
And,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. But I think the insertion of the article is kind of benign. As long as we have the opportunity to make the amendments, to make the changes, if there are any recommended.
Right, at the end of the day, I mean, it's going to be your recommendation anyway, so we just want to make sure we get it right, because there was significant changes. I'm not saying they're substantive as far as what was edited. Some of it was verbal wording and things, but there were omissions, and when that happens, we don't want to confuse, some people got a little confused by it, and so there was quite a bit of change. We want to make sure that everybody has a chance to talk. We're the only ones that have really talked about it outside of a meeting, so that's...
Yeah, and that's basically what I'm saying is that Gary and I looked at it, and we had a few minutes to go through it with Joe, with all the red lines that were there, and Bill weighed in today. But as a full board, I think everybody needs to look at it.
Okay.
I don't see any significant changes that would hold up us saying, yes, we will do a bylaw, But as Gary said, there's significant wording changes and omissions that need to be reviewed. That's all. And I appreciate it, you give us the time to do that.
Of course.
And Anita, just to clarify, those are the noted in red line in this document?
Yes, there was a red line version sent to you and a clean sent to you, and the red lines are all the changes, and there's 2 omissions. One of them is classifying the employees, and the other one is development that are proposed to be taken out. So we just want to review those.
Okay.
I don't know if Joe has any further comments or not.
No, and basically you captured it, Anita, and again, I think that's one of the challenges here with this bylaw is that when we say something's taken out, it continues to live within the employee handbook, and now that this is nearing final form, we're going to be pivoting to then start to finalize the handbook, since that will be something that will really help people see that these 2 things go together. It's not just a bylaw.
Right.
Those things need to be married, and that's the effort that's going to start in that time period between the town meeting report being finalized and town meeting.
And I think our ultimate goal, at least mine is on the personnel board, is to get all the wording correct and ready so that when we go to town meeting, we don't have to insert a sheet and say, here, read this, this is an update or a change. We want it all right before we go to town meeting, so it'll be an easier discussion on town meeting floor.
Okay.
That's all. We're looking,
Okay.
just,
No, I appreciate that. Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
That's all I
Appreciate it.
have to say.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys being here.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
Anita. You
Thanks,
bet.
Anita.
All right. So that covers personnel bylaw and amendment of personnel bylaw, right? The bylaw classification comp amendments.
That's
So
the personnel bylaw, yes.
So we're on to
Article 9,
grant of easements.
which is grant of an easement to Littleton Electric Light for the library. So obviously, we needed to make that connection, and this just needed to grant the light department an easement in order to get service over to the new library. Article 10 is it's the Littleton sewer system, and can you let Nick in?
I did.
Okay. And this is for construction funding for the sewer system. So Nick is here. The article, I think Nick will probably echo this. I think what we didn't have in the past that we currently have right now, if the Lapoli companies complete the purchase of 550 King Street as a partner in the sewer project. Certainly, that makes it much more clearer, the financial picture, than it did before. So, Nick, you want to just add?
Sure. Not much has changed since the spring with regards to the finances. We're still early on in the design. We're in some RFP processes to get some of the financials worked out, but really we're not quite there yet. But the big change was 550 King Street and having a large user there. You say partner, I say user of the system, which can support the financial plan for it. So I'm not sure yet, what the boards are going to decide. It's just important for us to get this article at least inserted. I know we have a lot of conversations now between now and when this goes to print, between the select board, the commissioners, and the FinCom. We want to get the FinCom involved early to make sure that this financial plan makes sense moving forward.
So,
I don't know if there's any questions
yeah,
on the
if there's any
select board.
questions, or?
Is this the final language?
Probably not.
Because, it says 39 million or some other amount. That's, what are we asking the town to vote on?
That 39, I don't have it in front of me, 39.5, whatever it is, that number is the most conservative number that we have in front of us. That number has tons of contingencies built into it. It has construction oversight built into it. I don't anticipate it being any higher than that, but we're still working on those details at this time. So, and that's why I think it's important to continue these conversations between the select board, the commissioners, and the FinCom really before this article is finalized.
do you anticipate there'll be a final number or different language that goes into the actual vote? Because I can see this causing an uproar at town meeting when people say when it says some other amount.
Yeah, you don't like that? I don't like it either.
I don't care. I trust you guys, but I can see people feeling uneasy at granting us the authority to raise some amount of money that's not specified.
No, I think we'll probably have a not to exceed number instead of that exact
I think
language.
that would be good.
Like I said, there's still a lot of conversations between now and then before this article is finalized. So I hate to speak for all three, two boards in the finance committee before we get there.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick.
Yep.
No other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, please, Paul.
Yep, just to jump on this, and I apologize, there's elements of this I'm not involved in that I don't have a working knowledge of the details on, but I just want to point out that the potential involvement of the development of 550 King Street along the lines of what we're anticipating, which is of course subject to town meeting vote on some of the bylaw change and whatever deal that the planning board ultimately approves resultingly for that project. By incorporating this into the sewer project, it now, and Nick, please correct me if I'm wrong, it now represents close to 75% of the capacity of the, or the, the projected capacity or use of the system, and correspondingly the payment for that system. And that's not to be lost sight of. I mean, there's a whole permitting process here that's not to be, jumped ahead of. Planning board has their job to do, and that's exactly as how it should be. But if this does happen at this, along the lines of the scale they're talking about, this has an enormous impact. We're looking right here at the big number figure of what it represents in terms of its cost, but what we haven't spoken to is its impact on the payment, and I don't want that to be lost sight of in the whole thing. So anyway, I just got to toss that out.
Yeah, I mean, I can confirm those numbers. It is about 75% of the, let's say, the projected initial capacity. There's always room for expansion, but on day one, they developed the way that they're telling us they're going to develop, at least from a projection standpoint and sewer use. I have no clue what they're really building. It's going to be a large user, which changes the story quite a bit. The town goes, right now the town's the only user. In any plan we ever brought forward, the town was the biggest user. Now we're very minimal. We're in the probably 10 to 15% range, maybe even lower, depending on the rest of the common develops. And it was always a build it and hope they come mentality. Well, now we have that person here. We have that development here to support the project, which is why this article is being inserted, at least potentially, to try to capitalize on a great opportunity for the community.
Thanks, Nick.
Yep.
Thanks, Paul. All right, so
Moving on.
to the home rule petition. Home rule petition?
Yep. So the next one is Article 11, and Nick can speak to this article. This is the home rule petition, Article 97, Cobb's.
All right, so if you thought the sewer was complicated, this is much, much more complicated. And then, from a very simple standpoint, and I wish Corey was here to talk to you folks about it, because he can give you a lot more of the details. He probably need about an hour to do it. But he's at Conservation Commission tonight, work with them on this project as well. But it ties back to the Cobb's bedrock wells and some of the conservation restrictions that got put in place over 20 years ago. Some of there's 5 restrictions that cover those parcels. 4 of them are owned by the Littleton Conservation Trust and 1 by the Conservation Commission. Very good conversations all around between both the Conservation Commission and the LCT. We've been working with LCT on this probably for, well, it goes back 20 years, but specifically our issue, probably the past maybe 9 months. But the gist of it is, with those 3 bedrock wells, there's a zone 1 requirement of 400-foot radius around each well that the town and the water department is supposed to control, either through ownership or through restrictions. And in this case, we're going to do it through restrictions. We're not looking to take land out of the trust. We're trying to work with the trust and try to get the restrictions that are in place that are strong enough to protect that water quality. There'll actually be stronger restrictions in the end that are in place today. And it's been very good conversations between the trust, us, and the Conservation Commission. It's much more complicated than I'm making it sound. And like I say, it goes back 2 decades. But that's the gist of this article.
Okay. Any questions, comments for Nick on this?
No.
It is something that has been going on for a while, so appreciate the update, and I'm glad that it's going to home rule petition, and another step in the right direction. All right.
I wish Concord was as easy.
Send Mr. Carr over to negotiate.
Yeah, right.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, so Article 12 is the authorization to sell a parcel at U14-11 on Shaker Lane, and Joe has been working on this one, so.
It's when we discussed at the last
Yeah,
meeting.
so
Yes.
we have basically 2 options. One, through the article, and town council says we can craft the motion to make sure that we put in place any restrictions we want to do, any conditions. We can either have the article or go through, do the RFP, and then go to town meeting, annual town meeting for this, or go to town meeting first and then go through the RFP. It basically is a chicken and egg thing. Which one would you like to do first? Town council says in the past, the town has gone and done the RFP first to bring a package to town meeting. So this one, realistically, the work for drafting the RFP and all those things is still gonna need to be done, so it's not something that like we're ready to hit the ground going, but it's really up to the board, which comes first,
Okay.
chicken or the egg.
Okay.
That's the parcel that we talked
Thank
about
you.
last meeting.
Right. And with the guidance of Mr. Mullen, we had some input on what we could do for some restrictions as well, right?
Correct.
That's
So
correct.
I think that we can insert it, and then if we have some tweaking to do, we can certainly, we can do it along the way. It's my opinion. Any other comments, thoughts?
No.
All right, Article 13 is the rezoning of 25 Robinson Road. So this parcel, and I have it up here on the screen, was omitted from the form-based code when it was last passed at town meeting. I think it was last annual, is that right, Joe? So, we've been working with the residents of Robinson Road, with the planning board and members of this committee. By rezoning it, it's gonna allow Northern Bank to continue with the development that you see up here, and I'll just flip through it quick, which is quite attractive. This is a view from Robinson Road. We're meeting with those residents. One of the concerns was, what are they gonna be looking at? Northern Bank was very responsive in trying to address their needs, and that's what they would be looking at.
Standing on Robinson Road, looking back towards the common.
Correct. So that's what they'd be looking at now, which I'd say looks like that'll be much more attractive than
What they're
what's
looking at now.
right now, right. Here's another view from Robinson Road, looking at the bank. So,
Now, again, you're getting closer to, you're driving towards the common, you're getting closer to our property at 12 Robinson Road.
correct, correct.
And the bank would be on your left, which is facing both Robinson and Great Road.
Correct, and that's the rendering of what the bank may look like. They obviously have to go through the planning board process, and these are other shops.
The bank is now all the way to your left, up
Right.
at the point. Yep.
That's correct, right over here is the bank. Here's another view, and a few more views. So that's gonna allow that project to move forward. I think that the residents, we certainly heard their concerns. We tried to address as many as we could, and I think that we've come to at least something that's they're more palatable for them.
Yeah, they've been very receptive to the input from the town as a whole and residents. You know, this has some open space between buildings and kind of similar to what, you know, the first renderings that 550 King, that Lopoli companies were showing us for the King Street Commons, as they called it.
Right.
Heading down King Street toward Westford. Yeah, so it's been kind of nice to get some upgrades and with all.
And that's a good segue into the next article, Mr. Chair. So
Kinda good.
Article 14 is the zoning bylaw amendment for 550 King Street. So you talked about those renderings, that's what, and these are really first-run renderings, like they said, they didn't have much time putting these together. I would assume that they'll change much more before the final planning board approvals, but those are just the renderings that they came up with for that parcel.
Looking to kind of retain that bucolic look and feel.
Correct. Correct. Right, so this will be the form-based code over here, the future residential area here. These are the two existing buildings, whether they both exist or maybe one exists. I guess that depends on if there's a market for that. Might be a challenge, and then there's some future plan here. I don't think that they really, it's just kind of down the road. So rezoning of that would allow this parcel, this 42 acres, to be redeveloped. Article 15 is road acceptances, and that's for Bluebird Way, as seen on the screen. And Article 16, I added that one, Mr. Chair, and that's basically, you saw this article in the annual fund collective bargaining. We have one more union that we hadn't reached an agreement yet, so I had a little conversation in passing, and I said, why don't we throw this on here and see if we could do a little bit more talking, and this will allow us an opportunity to see if we can come to agreement, so.
I appreciate your optimism. There's no harm in putting it on there as a placeholder at a minimum.
Right.
And then hopefully we can make some progress. That's
Right, if not, we would obviously pass over this, or. And that's all the articles, so with the exception of Article 3, this is our recommendation to the select board to insert for the special town meeting on October 25th.
So if we were to, and we can have some discussion, but we don't need to have the financials in the motions, right? We just have to, like, number one, bills of prior years. We don't need to have the 13,000.
Right, you don't need that.
We can
right.
just say, okay.
The next meeting, we'll go through it, and you'll make your recommendations, and
Right.
before we go to print.
Any discussion about anything? We had an opportunity kind of as we were going down, so. Paul, anything before we call for a motion?
No, fine with me, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
He misses you.
Liking this.
He misses you.
I'm liking this.
So I'll omit number 3. Shall I renumber them in the motion to be sequential?
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Or if you just want to read each line, and then, that's fine, too.
Okay. I move that the select board vote to insert the following articles onto the warrant for the 2021 special town meeting, subject to approval as to form by town council. 1, bills of prior years. 2, amend fiscal year 2022 operating budget. 3, debt exclusion stabilization fund. 4, appropriation of bond ban excess premium. 5, community preservation committee fiscal year 2022 community preservation. 6, personnel bylaw and classification and compensation plan amendments. 7, amendment of personnel bylaws. 8, grant of easement to Littleton Electric Light Department for library. 9, Littleton Commons Smart Sewer Construction Funding. 10, Home Rule Petition, Article 97, Cobb's. 11, authorization to sell U14-11 Shaker Lane. 12, rezoning of 25 Robinson Road. 13, zoning bylaw amendments, 550 King Street. 14, road acceptances, and 15, fund collective bargaining agreement.
Motion's been made, seconded by Mr. Knox. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 It's unanimous. Great. Thank you. I thought for sure you're gonna mess up at least one.
Nope. Great job. Pro.
You nailed it. Thank you, Matthew. All right, so we are on to, I believe, item 8, which is our select board goals discussion. Before we move on to that, I'd just like to, if the board will allow me, one of the updates I wanted to give was relative to Nagog Hill Orchard. And we did have an executive session today to that end. If you'll allow me, I'll just give you a quick update, just gives you the opportunity to be updated as well as the public at large. Paul, you okay if I just do a quick update?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair.
Seriously? Wow.
You want to switch seats?
I know, I'm just gonna let Cindy sit here, okay? So, Paul, the vice chair and the madam chair have been a sort of a working group working towards some sort of solution for the Nagog Hill Orchards. Everybody agrees that it's an asset. I'm surprised to find out how many people in Littleton don't know that the town of Littleton actually owns the orchard, which is the case. We purchased it from the Morrison family back in 1999. I think it went to town meeting in 2000, and it's been operated up until December of last year by Nagog Fruiters, I believe is the name of the LLC, Mr. Charles Auger, and we were fortunate to have him for a number of years. And we put out an RFP last year because Mr. Auger was, that entity was no longer going to be able to, Mr. Auger's an old man, admittedly an old man, and it was time for him to retire. And we did go out to RFP. We did receive one request back from our RFP. It was incomplete. We have been working since last January, I believe, Mr. Layden, to try to come to terms, or at least get the submission complete. It hasn't been the smoothest transaction, which is why Paul and I have been trying to come to some sort of a solution. There's been there's been some chatter on social media where some folks have maybe just found out that the orchard was owned by us. And some folks have said, go ahead and bring family down and pick the fruit if you'd like, which is not something that can happen. So there's the care, custody, and control of the orchard lies with the town, and we don't want to have people running around the orchard, and the potential, the liability that exists is pretty significant. So just wanted to let folks know that we have been making sure that this beautiful asset has been maintained over the years, and it's fallen off a little bit of late, and we are trying to right the ship, I guess is the best way to put it. So if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to myself or Paul, or any member of the select board really, or the town administrator's office. But for those that think that there's nothing being done, there's lots being done. And it's not being done necessarily publicly, but we are working tirelessly to make sure that this beautiful asset is maintained and is moving forward into the future. Mr. Glavy, I don't know if you have anything to add?
I think you've really covered things well, Chuck, so I'm not going to interrupt on that point.
Thank you, and I appreciate you not calling me Madam Chair. All right, so that being said, if we could move on now to select board discussion relative to select board goals. To Mr. Glavy's point earlier, we did meet as a retreat last week, and I'm certainly open to your suggestion, Paul, to Mr. Glavy, to go through that process in a more public way. It was a posted meeting, it was here in 103. We did not televise it, but we haven't televised it in the past when we've done it. So it wasn't, frankly, I never gave it a second thought. I didn't think that there was something that we had done in the past, and I know other select boards in different communities that do a very similar thing, and they do it off-site, and there's no cameras involved, so, but for full transparency, or for whatever reason, if you wish for that to be something that is more public, we can get into that right now during this discussion, because it is discussion dependent relative to our select board goals. We do try to meet on an annual basis. Each of the members submits what they think are the goal, or what each of us thinks are or should be the key focus or goals for us to accomplish on behalf of the town. So we submit those typically to the town administrator. The town administrator kind of aggregates them, creates a matrix. Oftentimes, we're all kind of going in the same direction. Most of the goals that we each submit are duplicates or cinco prickets, penta. All of us mention a lot of the same goals. But
They align.
they do align, and that's, this is what we're focused on a lot of the same things. We get a lot of the same direction from our constituents, as well as from, following the master plan, and just, it's something that is, I think, important for us, not only for us to be charging in the right direction, so that the public can go forward in confidence and know that we're working in the right direction, and also so we can give our administration and our staff and our employees direction, in direction that supports where we want to be headed to move the town forward. Mr. Vice Chair, do you have any thoughts, comments?
Oh, just a couple of things, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I recognize that there's a distinction between the retreat in function and in structure, which we held a week ago, and the intent of a goal session. There obviously some overlapping priorities, but the goal session, I think we only got a few minutes scheduled here for tonight, so I'm not sure what we were hoping to accomplish, but our established goals from the previous year, for my part anyway, were made priorities. We've made progress on some, less so on others. So I'm not sure what the objective is here tonight in this short time frame to address that. But other than that, I'd say the retreat was valuable in its various ways, as far as bringing out where board members were looking to drive the town's direction and get the board focused on, and what you want to do with the goal process. I'm very happy to, I'm very open to hearing what that may be.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I did take some notes from our meeting that we did have. So just for the purpose of informing the public, we did meet, we kind of randomly just threw out areas that we felt were goals, other areas that we felt were priorities as a board. Goals of the board include the sewer project, the senior center project. We all came to agreement with that. We had a pretty extensive discussion about housing in Littleton, and housing projects that are coming before the town. Sort of organically, it's property that is not owned by the town of Littleton, or hence the select board, but it's privately owned that's being developed. And we had identified, we have the Littleton Station area project, we have King Street Commons, we have potentially some housing at 12 Robinson Road might be coming forward. We talked about potential housing down the road, maybe at the Point. And we also talked about property that is currently owned by the Select Board, the town of Littleton. There's a lot of land on Tehadawon, which was the Brown property that was acquired and turned over to the Housing Trust, as well as Durkey Farm. The farmhouse itself and 5 acres of land is being turned over to the town as well, and that will be turned over to the Affordable Housing Trust. Mr. Nordhaus and myself are going to bring that forward with the Affordable Housing Trust board and talk about getting a perk test done on the lot on the Brown property on Tehadawon, and also talk to the Affordable Housing Trust about engaging the services of an engineer to look at the structural integrity of the farmhouse itself. So we had a discussion about that, and we did talk about too, utilizing property that we currently do own through tax title or whatnot, but really the board in it, at that time had decided to just kind of take a look at what we have before us at this time before we go down, taking it to the next step of looking at property that we have acquired through tax title and other things. Certainly, we had talked as the board priorities, 12 Robinson Road. We also talked about potentially developing a land acquisition trust, and just acknowledging that land acquisition is a priority of the community and the board, and along with the sewer project. So those were just that's a high level, just quick summary of the areas that we did talk about. Clearly, this is an ongoing discussion of the board. And at one point, we had talked about bringing in department heads or somehow making that conversation a little bit more back and forth with the town department heads.
Dialogue.
Didn't we? Having a better dialogue with them instead of us setting goals and not having a conversation with department heads or other boards or committees. So that was one thing that I kind of wanted to talk to the board about tonight. Is that something that we want to try to schedule, or how do we bring that together or coordinate that? Because that's something that we talked about in the past. Do you remember that, Mr. Glavy, Paul?
Yes.
In years past, I think we mentioned that, because I think that's where we have a disconnect. We have our goal-setting session, and we come up with our goals, but we really don't have like a dialogue with department heads or even other boards to just make sure we're all on the same page.
Exactly, and that's been our goal all along, and I don't know why it's so hard to achieve. I mean, the very simple objective has been to have a discussion amongst the board members initially, to come out, since we're all individually elected, and, and the public has a right to hear their elected representatives say, here's what my perceived objectives are, and then have that conversation with our department heads, and then feed that into the budget process. It never happens. It's so easy to do, but apparently it's not administratively in the interest of the folks who want to see things happen efficiently. So we get frustrated annually about why that never happens. But you're right, former chair Napoli, I agree. That's what
Right.
we should be doing.
Well, now that we have Mr. Ansaldi on board, because in years past, we haven't had, I think we've had some transition.
Yeah, well, he was on board last August.
Well, my point gonna be, Mr. Glavy, is we've had a lot of transition in things over the past few years. And although we've talked about it, it always seems like something always gets in the way, and that's just my observation. So I think if just going forward now that the dust is settled a little bit more, to see how we can finally make that happen. It's hard with scheduling. There's always things that come up and things get pushed off, or they just, something else comes up. It hasn't been an easy 2 years, in my opinion, but I think we can probably finally this year make that happen and see what it looks like. And we'll just get it scheduled and figure it out. How do we go about that?
So let me just jump in there. So one of the big ones, you alluded to it with the land acquisition trust.
Right.
But open space is one of the big ones as well. So
That's
how
what I
land
meant
acquisition
with the
trust
land
came up.
acquisition, yeah.
So one of the things, Paul, to answer your question about the brevity of this agenda item, I more just wanted to find out how we should proceed from here. So, and I would propose that we do it as we have in the past, where we each, kind of go back to our own bunkers and set forth our own priorities or our own goals and what we think we should be working on. Submit those all to Anthony. He can aggregate them and create that matrix that we've worked off in the past.
For years.
And, that gives us an opportunity to find out where we have made progress, to your earlier point, Paul, and where we maybe we either have lost some priority or we've just not made progress in some areas. And I think it's a good exercise, no matter what, for us to kind of look back and see how we've done, but also in going forward to see what more can be done. Yeah, Joe?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I just want to let the board know I have to jump out of this meeting and jump on the Conservation Commission meeting, so
No worries, appreciate
I'll be in the
listening.
hallway, I'll be back in depending on which one ends up sooner.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Mr. Chair, I like what you just said. I think that's the avenue we should probably take. I loved all the notes you took down because it refreshed things in my mind, but I think it'll be good for us to write down certain things and give it to Anthony. Then we can try to, put it all together and see what we've accomplished and where we go from that. And I actually have some things I want to put in there about, the town government, who comes under who and so forth, and what memorandum of agreement we have, so we know exactly where things are going, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if everybody's okay with that, why
Yeah.
don't we do that and plan on,
On board with what, Chuck? What are we on board with?
so each of us compiling our list of goals, priorities, for us to be working on. We've got some that are kind of rolling, that we've all agreed are in place right
Yeah,
now.
no, I'm okay with that. I was just worried about who does the winnowing process, because I don't mind handing along to the chair of our board, but, some of the decisions we make affect, the executive structure of the town government underneath us, and if we, we forward that information along and it gets winnowed out at some level, at an administrative level below us, then that's not helpful. So I don't mind sending it to you, but that's fine.
It's,
I don't think
Paul,
that's gonna happen at all.
Yeah, Paul, it's the matrix that we use every year, that
Yeah.
matrix form
Well,
is what we were talking about, is just using that same process. So we're gonna complete the matrix
So
that we have in the past, like we have in the past.
if,
Yeah, well, the key as always is making sure that matrix translates into action.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. And that's, setting objectives that are attached to the goals and, timelines and, it's the smart goals, right? It's pretty straightforward and
Yes.
as long as we're,
Right, because we prepare the matrix and we circulate the matrix. Everybody looks at the matrix, makes sure that what they brought forward is still included on it.
yeah,
And
and
then we go forward from there. We've been doing that every year.
and that's
that
how we get our
process.
assignments. I'm not saying this is necessarily the absolute best way to do it, but this is the way we have done it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
open to,
No, I agree, and that's how some things get done, and that's how some things don't get done.
agreed,
Yeah.
agreed. So I think, us sending them to the town administrator's office is just a place to send them all, for them all to get aggregated and get, to populate the matrix. I'll tell you that I'm not gonna populate the matrix. So if someone else wants to volunteer to do that, and we won't send them through the administrator's office, it was much easier when he had staff, frankly, but, we're in the process of filling that position, but, certainly they can, if you feel more comfortable, Paul, I'm happy to be copied on any submissions, but I don't think we have to send,
There's no need for anything, greatly exciting here. It's just everybody ought to be copied on everything. I've always believed that, so that's an easy way
Well, that's
to
what we did in the
accomplish that
past
goal.
too.
But beyond that, I'm okay with what you're talking about.
I'm open to whatever the board wants to do. The only benefit to having one person that's not one of the five of us receiving them is you get some organic or more original input, I think.
You just talk about organization too. That's what the job is of that office. Send it to that, and he puts it into or someone in that office takes care of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
We good?
I think we're good.
So when do we want to have the next discussion after all so when, we need a deadline for when our goals are due.
Can we have them due by the next meeting on the 27th? In 2 weeks?
Yeah, let's see.
Seems like,
Can you
if
have
we're
those-
gonna submit them to, you know.
Well, we need to submit them before the 27th to him, though, in order, or to some, whoever it is, in order to compile them.
Right, are
So-
we gonna have time to discuss them before town meeting?
You could do it on the 27th if
I
they,
don't think we
Yeah.
have to discuss it.
Yeah, do we need to?
I think it's healthy
Oh, with
to.
the budget and everything, well, yeah.
So, we're at the 13th. What's that Friday? Well, no, because you have to post by that Friday, right? So, could have them due by the 20th or the 22nd.
Have them due on the 27th and then have them for the next meeting.
Okay.
I don't know, I just threw that out there. If people need more time than that, but probably more time is just gonna mean you put it off longer, so.
Or you're just gonna put your stuff
Why don't
on
we say
there?
they're due to Anthony by a week from today,
Yeah,
the 20th.
Okay.
it's my birthday.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
everyone should be able to remember that deadline,
29 again.
right?
All right,
Easy.
due to town administrator on or by.
The 20th.
All right, and then from there, Anthony, do you think you'd have time to prepare them for potentially for the 27th?
just copy Joe, it's because I'm on a vacation next week, but Joe will put that matrix together.
And I think I've got the matrix template
Oh, okay.
that I can send
From-
over.
from past years, yeah.
Past years,
Okay.
yeah.
Excellent,
Yep.
thank you, sir.
Cindy, you're away next week as well, right? You away or just your birthday?
Yeah, no, I'm leaving the 21st.
Okay. All right, good. That was just discussion dependent, no need for a motion or anything there. And do you have some updates for us?
Sure, the first thing, Mr. Chair, is we received a letter from Jason Palich? Sorry if I butchered his name, the Executive Director of 495 Metro West Partnership, for which we are part of. And he's just looking for a letter of support for their grant funding. This is funding that helps fund that organization that works on our behalf of business development, economic development in the 495 region. So I drafted a letter that was in the board's packet that I'm just looking for approval, and I'll gladly send that off if the board's okay with that.
I just noticed there's a typo in the first sentence of the letter. It's missing, it says, "I am writing lend our support."
Okay.
So-
Good. Thank you,
I
Matt.
wanna, let's put our best face forward.
Got it.
But I'm 100% in favor of the letter and the support.
All right, to that end. You okay with, need a motion?
You ready? Move that the board vote to authorize the town administrator to sign and submit the letter of support for the 495 Metro West Partnership's fiscal year 22 Regional Economic Development Organization Grant redo application.
Second.
Oh, a curveball.
I might throw it to him. Motion's been made by Mr. Nordhaus, seconded by Mr. Glavy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. It's unanimous.
Seconds can't come remotely.
Oh, they can't? All right.
The last thing?
Yeah, for you.
Mr. Chair, is you alluded to the fact that at the board's request to really push the vaccinations here in town, I put another request in for the Vax Bus. We tentatively have been notified that it's going to be rolling back on October 2nd to coincide with Oktoberfest.
Nice.
which is a great opportunity. Last time, Tim indicated that there was 1,700 to around 2,000 people that flowed through that day. Yeah, and that's really the demographics that the COVID working group was identified as the group that needs to be vaccinated.
Drinkers. That's the demographic, drinkers?
Not drinkers, the age that would,
Oh.
the age that would attend, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so I sent back an email. I'm just waiting for a follow-up from them, but it looks like that's gonna happen. And I did request the marked-up bus because as much as we appreciated the bus that we had and it did its job, when it's wrapped and it says it's the Vax bus, it's certainly another great advertising because they came without signs and so forth, so. And the other program that we're working on, and Jennifer's been working on this, is we've been working with vendors that deal with other municipalities as far as setting up more vaccine clinics. So there's no cost to the town. They do take insurance cards, like if you were going for your flu shot, but we have the ability to partner with them, and then as the groups that are coming up, and our public safety is first, if it's something that, if we wanted to bypass the large Devon's vaccination clinic that they'll probably have for all public safety, we certainly could do our own. And we could ask other communities to just do it at the police station, for instance. So the next group after that would be the teachers. And we talked with Superintendent Clenchey this morning about, that could be an option that we set up the clinic after school at the high school. So, and then certainly if the age groups change for children, again, we can do something here in town and make it much more convenient, although it's pretty convenient now to get a vaccine, but even more convenient that you can get it right here through us. So we're going to continue to work on that, and we're just waiting at this point. The Moderna obviously hasn't been approved for booster yet. Pfizer has. I'm not sure. I don't think the J&J has either. But so we have some time on that, but we are mobilizing the troops to be able to implement that if that's what the town so chooses.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Suggestion? So I was wondering if you could talk to the COVID working group about putting some sort of dashboard on the town website with updated COVID information. Just looking at other towns, Bedford's a really good example of a dashboard. We have no information on our town website other than just some cut and paste links to articles that support the science behind the data, which I don't know how, to me personally, that's not helpful. Knowing the science behind the data, I'd rather be able to get a snapshot of what's going on with COVID in Littleton. I know that we see the dashboard, Middlesex County's in the red, but the CDC actually suggests that if you live in a large county, like we do, Middlesex County, that you look for information from your local Board of Health at a local level. So I'd like to know personally, what is the transmission rate in Littleton? Like, there was meeting minutes from the Board of Health. The last minutes they posted were July 28th, and it says that the transmission rate in Littleton was moderate at that time. But I just would like to know where we stand going forward. I just think that's important information. I'm really surprised when we, at the peak of COVID, if you will remember, with everything going on at the Life Care Center, there was so much push for updated day-to-day data on the town website. That was a big thing, and now it's just like been pushed to the wayside. And which really surprises me that more residents aren't asking for that. At the state level, as far as Middlesex County being in the red, I get that, we're in Middlesex County, but what is going on in Littleton? If there's a high rate of transmission within our community itself, I think we should know that. I think it would be helpful to know that. But Bedford is just an example, and you can look at other towns as well. They have a dashboard on their town website that gives you all this up-to-date information, which I just think would be helpful to have.
No, Mr. Chairman, I couldn't say amen louder. What Selectwoman Napoli has just said, it's so frustrating and it's true. And actually, before I get too off on a tangent, the work you've done, Cindy, in going to very obvious and credible sources, the CDC and the state websites to put out information. Why hasn't that been being presented to us so regularly? It was for a while when Chief Wadzinski was heading up the task force that we had put in place when COVID began. We were getting that information, and then it kind of dropped off. But it's so frustrating, whether it's the Board of Health or our own, whatever, this new thing we just created here, whatever. The thing we most crave is credible information on a real-time basis, on a day-to-day basis. That's what everybody needs to hear so we can make smart decisions. And anyway, amen.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna impose a town-wide mask mandate, I think we just need more information specific to the town of Littleton to be provided to us. I think it's only fair, so, if you could talk to the working group about that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll pass that on to Joe, because I'm going to miss Monday. Mr. Chair, maybe if you can help echo.
Yeah, so I mean, the working group is really just correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really just advisory.
Right.
And that really should be going to, whether it's Gareffi or Lisa Flanagan, because they're the ones that should be putting that up. I mean, we're not gonna put that responsibility on Nancy, although Nancy can help to execute on it. The working group is just, initially it was put in place to help Superintendent Clenchey and make sure that everybody was kind of making, frankly, it came up when we didn't know what DESI was gonna do, and Superintendent Clenchey was kind of reaching out saying, well, what's the town thinking? And was trying to get everybody sort of on the same page to make sure that we weren't stepping on each other's toes, or, there was just one mandate coming from one direction, one, in a different direction coming from another group. That was the original intent.
That's correct.
So if you don't think they're the right
Well,
avenue?
Lisa does sit
All
on
the
that.
players are gonna be there,
Right.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, so if you look at the
But that's next
association.
Monday.
Right, if you look at the Association of Boards of Health, they actually have a link on there that talks about dashboards that local boards of health can use. There's a whole resource for them with a specific, like a dashboard, that this is a tool you can use to help inform your community. I would like to see us implement something like that for the town.
So are we able to, what authority do we have to direct Jim Gareffi to get that data, the data?
And I don't know how the dashboard, I honestly, like the one for Bedford, I think it just links you right into a state resource, and it's just a direct link. So it's not like you have to input data, it's coming from another source,
And
I
they probably
think.
use the same web company that we do, to be honest. It's a matter of
Right.
a couple switches, probably.
We certainly can bring this up, like you said, all the players are there.
But that's not gonna happen until next Monday, so.
Right.
Yeah, we can bring it up, but it's gonna go to a bunch of people on a Zoom next Monday, and then it's gonna be a recommendation, and then the Board of Health won't meet until Wednesday or sometime after that.
Well, so I look at, is it as an administrative function, or is it a Board of Health function?
I would think it would be in our purview to change the town website and show any information that we feel is appropriate. And
Right.
this is, again.
Hello, yeah, amen,
This is
thank
a
you.
portal to public information on the state website, and we're just putting a window to it.
It's-
Let's just do it.
Thank you, Matthew,
Yes.
that's exactly what it is, but there's a
It's-
few different examples out there of what that portal can look like.
So maybe Nancy can decide what it looks like, and we can give her guidance on what we
Where that
want to
data's gonna
include.
get
Right,
pulled
like
in from.
if she goes to the town of Bedford's website, that's a great example. And you can go to actually pretty much any other municipality. We're pretty much one of the few that does not have a portal.
Yeah, we
A
should.
or they're calling it a dashboard,
Yeah.
so.
Whatever we can do to keep the bureaucracy from getting in the way of just disseminating
Correct.
information, let's do that. So, I agree.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. So you can take that direction to whoever needs to
Follow up.
get it done.
Sure.
Good. Yeah, I would almost guarantee that they have the same web company as
It's
us,
coming off of
server.
datastudio.google.com. I'm convinced it's from the state or from the CDC.
Yeah.
And it's just repackaging information. It's the public information.
Right. All right, good. Yeah, let's get that done. Any other comments, questions about COVID-19? All right. Any questions on the minutes of August 23rd?
I believe they're complete and accurate.
Tend to agree with you. Motion to accept?
You ready? I move that the select board vote to approve the meeting minutes of August 23rd, 2021.
Second.
There he is.
He's waiting.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Glavy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. You say aye, Paul?
Aye.
Thanks.
Aye.
I think you're on a 2-second delay.
You're lucky about that.
Amen.
I move that we adjourn the select board meeting.
I'll second that too.
All right, before I take it's been moved, seconded by Mr. Glavy. Before I take the vote, however, next Monday, we do have a working group, not a working group, but a discussion about town meeting. You're not here, I understand. But do we have something scheduled for next Monday? Or we had slotted for next Monday.
Yeah, we did in the event that we needed to discuss anything for up to town meeting, so it was one of those save the date.
Right,
So if there's something else, you certainly,
okay, all right.
So as of now, do we have anything that is pressing enough that we know we're going to need to meet on Monday, the 20th?
I don't think so.
The only item that didn't make this agenda, and it's a mess up on my part, was collective, the host community agreement for community care collective. Didn't come in for us to take a vote on, which
Well, that wasn't the purpose of what we were originally gonna be
no, that
voting
wasn't the
on.
intent of the meeting for next
So if we don't meet Monday, our next meeting is the 27th?
Correct.
Which is our last meeting before the warrant closes, right?
warrant closes today.
Well, okay.
Right, but
Before the
before we,
report goes
before we
out,
go to
yeah,
printer,
okay.
and yes.
That is relative to the HCA. Joe and I reviewed it, and everything seemed in order. So I don't know if it's something that we could do in quick order, or if it's something that we would want to have a Zoom meeting for at some point, whether it's next Monday or some other time, or,
Instead of delaying it to the 27th?
yeah, just, so there was a oversight on my
I
part.
guess I could,
so
yeah, it's my birthday.
I'm
but
out
that's
either
okay.
way, so it doesn't matter.
The point is moot.
What do we want to do?
Well, we can have that discussion. We'll go there now. If we can get together, and if we had it scheduled, then we can get together and do a Zoom and do a single item, if it truly would be a single item, and be in and out. I don't think there's a whole lot of discussion with it, based upon what you, I mean.
What's the date? Is it the
20th?
Monday the 20th.
But I don't think, as far as deliberation relative to the actual agreement, I don't think there's anything, nothing that stood out to either of us, so.
Okay.
All right, we'll,
Want to just do a quick Zoom and just do it? Get it finalized?
we'll have to post it, obviously. And is there, I mean, yeah, it's up to the
Instead of, I mean, how much of an imposition would it be to the applicant if we put it off to the 27th? Is that gonna really,
board. I think that with anybody that's looking to move forward with
is it gonna,
licensing and all that kind of stuff, it's, you could tell us probably better than anybody what the impact would be financially. It's,
so if we want to just do a quick Zoom on Monday, let's do it. Is that what you? I'm fine with that.
I guess as long as we have three of us. Paul, are you available for a Zoom for a single item?
What is the date on that again?
20th?
Whatever, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be available.
Okay.
It's fine.
We'll get you cake.
You better get me cake.
You don't eat cake anymore.
I don't eat cake.
We gotta tighten up the administration, and this wasn't an overwhelming agenda today. It was it was not a long agenda, it could have contained more substance. There's a lot of things we wanna do that aren't getting on our agenda, and then we get things that we thought we were gonna do that now we gotta, put off to another, whatever. It's just, sure, can I do it? Absolutely, but can we tighten up our agendas? Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'll work on that.
Now it's not on you.
That is. All right, so there's been a motion made and seconded by Mr. Glavy to adjourn. Our next meeting, as of right now, that's scheduled is the 27th, and we're likely going to have a very short meeting next Monday, the 20th, for a single item agenda. So, all those in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
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 I thought Paul was gonna answer with amen.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, folks. Thank you.